There was a young man by the name of Aaron, and he was born to parents who were slaves, who had escaped the tyranny of slavery to become nomads wandering in a vast desert. Now, even though there were no books, Aaron's father would impart to him the teachings, the laws and the rituals that he himself had learned. And his mother very often spoke to him about a bird of happiness. Now, in their wanderings, there came a night when Aaron had a dream. He dreamt that on the horizon he could see a great dark cloud approaching. And his mother and father said to him, "Quickly, cover yourself with your cloak. A great sandstorm is coming." Now, after the wind had died down and Aaron emerged, he could see that their footsteps, the imprints of their footsteps, had been obliterated, so they did not know from where they had come. And of course, this disenabled them from knowing where it was that they should go. But just as the sand settled, Aaron looked up, and he could see in the distance something approaching. And there, coming towards him, was a great bird. And as it came above his head, something dropped from its beak. And at that instant Aaron awoke, and in his hands there was a stone that glowed with a strange light. Now he told his parents about this and showed them the stone. And his mother immediately said, "Oh, the bird of happiness is arriving." So it was found that when Aaron put this stone on a leather thong about his neck, the stone would guide them. It would glow brightly when they were going in the right direction, and become dark if they were in the wrong way. And this way they found themselves at great oases, where there was an abundance of water and fruit on the palm trees. Now it was the great desire of Aaron and his parents that one day they would arrive at the promised land, the land of milk and honey, the holy land. But they wandered, and the years passed until one day they found themselves at the gate of a great city. Now Aaron had never been to a city before, and he was greatly surprised when they came through the city gates to see throngs and throngs of people in the streets, because his father had told him that people lived in houses. But the streets were filled with people. And so Aaron approached one and said, "Please, will you tell us why are there so many people gathered in the streets?" And he was told that 3 days ago their king had died, and after 3 days the bird of happiness that was kept would be released, and on whoever's head it landed would become the next king. Now at that moment a great hush came over the crowds, and everyone looked up, because there in the sky was a great bird. And when Aaron looked up, this bird was so familiar to him, and it circled and circled until it came down to land on Aaron's head. There was a great cry and upswell, and immediately Aaron was lifted up and carried off, and his parents chased after, "Where are you taking our son?" But he was carried off to the palace to be decked out and prepared to become the next monarch. Now Aaron thought that this was a dream, but he could feel the talons of the great bird still resting on his head. So he knew that this was not a dreaming state. So it was that Aaron was duly crowned the king. But those around him were greatly wondering whether this was an error, because this young man, an ex-slave, how could he have the knowledge, the wisdom to become a king? But his father's teachings had done him well, and he served that kingdom using the wisdom that he had received from his father. And secretly he had the stone that when an answer was yes, would glow brightly, and when an answer was no, would become dark. But after some time, Aaron had a small hut built in the garden of his palace, and it was noticed that every day he went to this hut for an hour or two, and it was wondered what he did there. And one of his advisers could not keep himself silent any longer and asked him. And Aaron said, "I go to this place, and I don the rags that I wore when I came here, to remind myself of where I've been, so that I know where I'm going." The other day, the question was asked, what is the difference between an amulet and a charm? From your experience and understanding, what was this stone that Aaron wore around his neck? Was it an amulet, or was it a charm? And what significance does it have from your own experience? Amulet, a charm. What was this stone? And why?
It would have to be a charm, from what I understand, because that's I to ward off negative energies and charm, so to show you the charmed way.
Yeah, okay. Mm-hmm.
I think it's an amulet
Mm-hmm.
because for me a charm is something that you're trying to create for yourself in a way,
Mm-hmm.
a bit of magic, and that was unasked for. It was just delivered
Okay.
to him, and he just followed it.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't about his will.
No.
He was allowing this to guide him,
Mm-hmm.
while a charm is about will, I
Alright.
suppose.
We have to know the definition of a charm and an amulet.
That's right.
We were supposed to look it up here.
Everyone has
I haven't done my homework.
I didn't have a dictionary, so I couldn't.
Well, usually an amulet is filled with magical power,
Yes.
and a charm is just something that people believe has some benefits in having it. So that was an amulet because it was filled with magical power and it glowed and gave him the answers when he needed it, and so that was his guide.
Uh-huh.
And so without that as a backup, he wouldn't have been able to be as good as he was, but because he had it, it made him a lot better.
Right. So then the question can be asked, what does this represent for us in the spiritual sense? Recognizing that we have this stone.
We need to find our own amulet. That's our guide.
Okay.
It's still a gift from above.
All right. Uh-huh.
It's like an inner knowing and intuition. And some things, when you just know it, and you've got to do it regardless.
And have you ever noticed for ourselves that when there is that connection or that need for connection with this, somehow we go like this? Have you ever noticed that somehow we just will bring our hand to our heart area? Watch our own movements and we can see for ourselves and acknowledge this. It's something that is a phenomenon that occurs for us. And we can ask ourselves, why do I do this? What does it signify? And there's another story yet to be told, maybe to complete this little cycle of endeavors at understanding. And that is, what is a talisman? We can experience the significance of an amulet and a charm. But what is a talisman? But that's another story to be told. Thank you.
What